Hello, my name is Brendan Curtin, and this is Curtin Call, an inside look into the world of coaching. Our guest today is a man who has spent countless and numerous hours, days, and seasons at our own Shuey Stadium. Our guest is none other than Coach Gary Johnson. Thanks for coming on the show, Coach.
Not a problem. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And as many Bulldogs know, Coach Johnson is a fixture within our track and field program and has been a long-term football coach in our football program, coaching multiple positions in various levels. Coach, could you walk us through a little bit of your background and how you landed at RB, and a little bit of your athletic background and how you got into the world of coaching?
Yeah, I graduated from college in 1973. Interviewed only at 2 schools, and RB was the first one to offer me a job, and I grabbed it and been here ever since. They hired me as a head track coach, so I've been coaching track for this is my 41st year, but I retired in 2005, and I stepped down to be an assistant coach then. So I basically was the head coach for 32 and 9 as an assistant. Bill Vandenberg and Otto Zeman been working on me ever since I started here in '73 to get me to coach football, and I was a football player in high school.
Sure.
And they finally got me in. It was probably about 1980. So I've coached about 28 years in football, all 3 levels.
Sure. Okay. Great. Obviously, big pickup by them, because you still are a fixture in the football program and the support you provide the program, as well as through the track and field program. Coach, a little bit of some of the biggest challenges that you face as a coach now compared to maybe when you were first starting out in your career, whether that be personal trainers with kids or travel teams, what have you, outside resources. What are some of the challenges?
Oh, there's probably a lot of them over the year. Probably when I first started here, I think our enrollment was almost 2,000. About my second or third year here, we reached 2011 was the highest we ever hit. And I want to say probably mid-'80s to late '80s, we went down to about 725. So, I mean, one thing in any sport is a numbers game. I mean, the more numbers you have, the better off it's going to be. So that's one huge thing. We've never had a severe problem at RB, but occasionally you've got certain coaches that are that way. But, being a school of the size that we are, I think every coach has to help every sport. And to me, an athlete should be a 3-sport athlete. I mean, I've had a couple brothers that are college coaches, and they drool over kids who are 3-sport athletes and starters in all 3 sports. Those are the kids who can move around to different positions and that kind of thing.
A high tide lifts all boats, right?
Oh,
so if you have a solid football program, you're going to have a solid basketball, track, and even baseball, no question about it. And there is no substitute for competition.
No.
There's always time to hit the weight room, but there is no substitute for competition. And if memory serves correct, were you or were you not an all-state pole vaulter?
I was for 2 years.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And pole vaulted in college for 4 years.
Sure, no question. And I'm guessing, going back to the
little lighter than I am now.
Sure, absolutely. But you've done it before. It doesn't mean you need to demonstrate by example nowadays.
Although as I got older, I still used to do it, not anymore.
Sure, no question. And I'm guessing, was it tight end or receiver in high school?
Actually, I started out as a running back as a freshman, sophomore year, junior, senior year as a receiver.
Gotcha. Who some of those people were that also may have served as mentors throughout your early years of coaching and teaching?
Well, I think athletics in general, what got me going is I'm from a big family. We had 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and all my brothers were athletes. That kind of drug me into all of us were.
I can relate to that.
Yes, you can. I've coached all your brothers.
That's right.
And I think in my days of growing up, there wasn't as much to do for kids, so we were always out playing. I mean, if in the summer we'd pick up a basketball, go play basketball, or we'd play flag football, or whatever. You're always doing something. I've always wanted to. I knew right away I wanted to be a teacher. I went to Illinois State. I really love working with kids, so I knew I really wanted to coach. Basically, I'd coach anything, and that's why I said
I'm sure you have.
You got to keep the wife and the family happy, so
Right.
when you coach year-round, it's a little tougher.
Absolutely.
But, there's a lot of people that influenced. I think one of the big influences here that dragged me into football and made it fun were Bill Vandermerk and Otto Zeman.
Sure.
Bill Vandermerk was the AD when he was here, and the one nice thing about Bill, he basically supported all the programs. He encouraged you as much as you could to do your thing and get your support going. And
Right.
I think when he retired from football and Otto took over, he brought a whole different type of a program to the football program, and RB made it fun, which is
Sure.
he made it fun for kids and
Absolutely.
coaches.
But it is rewarding. It is satisfying. What are some of the more rewarding aspects you feel come from coaching?
Oh, I'll tell you what. You develop a different bond with kids in general, coaches in general, than you do in the classroom. You kind of get closer to them to a certain extent. The biggest thing I think the reward is, one thing is spending all that time and finally having success. I can remember early on, just in the football career, I mean, we hardly ever made the playoffs.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden we're making it every year. Then all of a sudden we made it to the Final Four one time, and I mean
Right.
that's just phenomenal. I mean,
Sure.
from a track standpoint, our goal has always been to try to see how many kids. We have certain goals, other goals, but win the conference, that kind of thing. But we'd like the kids to get down to the state track meet and get a state medal, kind of thing. So,
Sure.
and as a coach, it's rewarding to get to that level.
Right. No
Makes
question.
you doing something. It feels like you're doing something right, and then to have kids go out, and a lot of people that I've coached are back into coaching themselves, and that's kind of a nice feeling too.
Absolutely. It's a special feeling to know that you played a big role in their development and their decision for a career path, if you will. No question about it. And I think, obviously, as a coaches, we also take great pride in when the light bulb goes off of those young men, and it's the aha moment, and they get it, and you know that you're hitting home
Just
with
doesn't come out enough to enough of them, though.
Exactly.
Early enough.
It's certainly not. It's not easy. But tell you what, Coach, we're going to take a quick break, and please stay tuned to Curtin Call, and we'll be back in just a few moments. Thank you. Talk about some of the challenges or the sacrifices that you've had to make throughout the course of your career.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's tough as you get married. If you're single, it's not a problem.
Sure.
As soon as you start having a family, you better have a very forgiving wife. And as your kids come around and they get older, as a father, you don't want to miss their things as much as possible.
Sure.
And I could honestly say I was blessed in some respects that I had an athletic director at the time, and with Otto as the head football coach when I was coaching football, there were times, for example, that I went over to LT and saw my son play football, and then drove up to where our game was, so I didn't miss that game too. So you juggle things a little bit. But and that's basically it. You're juggling the time to make everybody happy.
Right. Exactly. Good point, Coach. We touched a little bit on how long you've been involved in the track program. I'm not going to put you on the spot and say exactly how many years, but
41.
41 years in the track program. Wow. And now our Bulldog Relays, an event that I participated in, which was formerly known as the Bulldog Relays, and now the Gary Johnson Bulldog Relays. Can you touch on, Coach, some of the changes you've seen through that event over the course of 40 plus years? I'm sure you've gotten to see this obviously firsthand. You're the reason why this event blossomed and grew into something, a well-known event throughout the state of Illinois. Can you touch on some of the developments you've witnessed and been a part of?
Oh, yeah, and same thing with football. I mean, technology changes.
Right.
You look at the track, when I first started here, it was a cinder track.
Right.
And now we have an all-weather track. The poles, the hurdles, this year we're instigating an FAT timing system. So all that kind of stuff. Way back when with the football field, it was grass. Well, the problem with limited space and using the field, by the end of the season, it was like a highway.
Right.
And the all-weather field now, right now, it's unbelievable. It makes a huge difference.
Sure.
So it's stuff like that changes, that makes it a little bit more fun
Sure.
to do things.
Absolutely. No question. Touch on, Coach, a little bit, I'm sure you've seen and done it all as a coach, when working with young students.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's some coaches that hit a certain mark in their career, and they say, these kids, they've changed. They're not the same as when I first got into coaching, and some say the parents have changed. What changes have you seen from a standpoint of dedication or accountability? Have you seen many changes in young men?
Kids have changed, parents have changed, yes.
Sure.
I mean, I think as a parent, every parent wants it better than what they had. I don't know if I totally agree with that, because what was wrong with what I had? I mean, I'm still here.
Sure.
But you want to try to make it easier for your kids. And the thing is, they need to know that life sometimes isn't easy.
Right. That's a great point.
It's just, lost my train of thought here.
Sure. No, it's tough to bring that killer instinct, that fighter's mentality out of some kids now, because they're not playing ball like we used to on the weekends
nowadays. But I think as a coach, it's like if you're in the classroom and you're talking to the kid about something and he's not getting it. Well, you can't just say, well,
he's not getting it.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to try to find out what button or how to get around it to make him get it. And I think athletics is no different. Every kid has a sweet spot or a button to push.
Sure.
You got to find out what that button is.
Absolutely. Sure. And I feel the same way. I agree with you. I don't think kids have changed that much. I call it, the academy era, where if a kid's playing baseball or basketball or even football, they're kind of driven to the workout, literally speaking, and dropped off by mom or dad, and they get their workout in, then they go home, whereas opposed to back in the day, you're hitting the sand lot or hitting a grass field and playing a pickup game with your friends. So
walking to school, walking home.
Sure, things have changed in that regard, but I don't know if our athletes have changed too much from their approach to athletics. Could you touch on, Coach, a little bit, for a young man that may be graduating college this spring, or somebody that's interested in getting into the world of coaching, what advice would you provide someone who's just starting out in their career?
Whatever sport you're in. I'm one of these guys that think if you're a good teacher or you've been somewhat of an athlete, you can coach any sport.
Sure.
But to be able to do that, you have to learn the sport. So don't be afraid to talk to other coaches to learn what they've done. Don't be afraid to learn to beg, borrow, and steal drills from other people, because the kids here at RB are different than kids at LT or any other school, and what worked there may not work here. So you got to learn what works good with the clientele that you have here.
Absolutely, yeah. I always say if you grab ideas from two different people, you can call it research and not stealing. Right. But yeah, you can never have too much pride to feel that you can't go out and reach out to some other coaches.
I've taken stuff from a lot of people over the years. I wish I could take all the success stories and say they were my ideas.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Whatever works.
That's what it's all about. Coach, let's go back in the time machine, if you will. If you were to pick an all-star lineup of a quarter-mile relay, a 4x4 relay, who are the four guys you're going to battle with throughout the course of your career?
That's a good one. I can think
you could leave me out of the equation. I think I ran out 51 and change.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because this upcoming season, I think knock on wood, we stay healthy.
Sure.
We have a group of kids that is probably the best that I've seen in the 41 years I've been here. So I hope that we're not only going to break the school record, we're going to shatter it. And I think if that happens, we're going to qualify for state and maybe place downstate with these kids. That's an awesome feeling.
You heard it here first, absolutely.
And but picking the top four, oh boy. I can remember a kid back in the late 70s by the name of Mark Kowalczyk. He was like about a 50-point quarter miler. I had another kid by the name of Gary Sfila. He was probably 91, 92. He ran a 49.9.
Okay.
Believe it or not, we have a kid right now, junior, Marvin McKenzie.
Right.
who as a freshman ran a 50.09.
Impressive.
So,
yeah.
you know, that's tough. So I'm expecting big things from him.
Got a high motor.
And, there's a ton of other
Sure.
kids that fall
I
into
know.
that category.
It's a
There
tough
really
question. You don't want to leave anyone out. I understand that. I'm not going to touch on who you think the top 3 wide receivers would have been throughout your career, because I think that's where you spent most of your time. But we know there's a lot. You know, there's a lot of talented athletes walking around the hallways here. So, Coach, we appreciate you coming on Curtin Call. Thank you very much. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Curtin Call. Thank you for tuning in, and go Bulldogs.